2025 Xbox Showcase was probably my favorite show of this formerly known E3 week of news that we've had. It doesn't make it a perfect show, but it's the one that I probably enjoyed the most. Let's chat about it. First thing to shout out, it was the pacing was really done well. The main show was right about like hour 15ish or so before the Outer Worlds 2 direct started, and I thought the pacing was pretty solid compared to, like, let's say the Summer Game Fest, which, Summer Game Fest with Jeff Keighley, Gamescom, Game Awards, they are a mix of games as well as putting games into a more professional light. So there's a lot of, points of just conversation and more detailed breakdowns. While something like this and like a state of play Nintendo Direct is just games, 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 games. So the pacing overall was pretty well. Probably a lot of people felt, I did feel like one particular trailer went on a little bit too long, even though that particular trailer was actually really sick, just went on a little bit too long. But besides that, the pacing was honestly pretty solid for the amount of games that we got and everything that we kind of saw out of it. And honestly, everything that was actually in the showcase was pretty solid. There was a lot of cool titles that we got to see. We got to see indirectly a trailer for Silksong with the Asus Xbox ROG Ally. So shout out to that. Plus saying it's coming out later this year. So Silksong was here. Shout out to that. We also got to see Game Freak's new game, Beast of Reincarnation, which I believe was announced like sometime middle of last year with a key art that Game Freak was working on this. So we got to see the full reveal on that one. A little bit of gameplay elements as well as, more like the cinematic side of things. I think the one thing that's going to be really interesting coming out of that conversation is the conversation of how Beast of Reincarnation looks graphically versus Pokemon. I feel like that's going to be an interesting conversation to have because obviously Game Freak takes it on the shins a lot with how Pokemon looks graphically. I have personally, as a Pokemon fan, have never had an issue with like how Sword and Shield looked, how Scarlet and Violet looked, besides the performance issues of Scarlet and Violet. That was had a problem with that one. As long as the games ran well, I never had a problem with the graphics because it is Pokemon. It is more of a children's property, right? That we all as adults have grown up and played since we were children. Now we are adults still enjoying it. Um, the cartoony, like, kind of graphical approach that we take, I think works for Pokemon. I don't want what Beast of Reincarnation is to be Pokemon. That's just me. And I feel like a lot of Pokemon fans would probably agree to that. That's going to be the interesting conversation of the way Pokemon Scarlet and Violet looks, the way Pokemon Sword and Shield looks, and the way this game looks, and both by Game Freak. And ultimately, what it comes down to, it does come down to time, right? Beast of Reincarnation, we don't know how long it's been in development, but this has been in development for a little while. This is something that's not held down by a strict timeline to meet training cards, TV show, merch, et cetera, that the Pokemon company is bringing down to Game Freak, right? This gives, Pokemon, they have limited time to cook. Now, Pokemon Legends ZA, that's had more time to cook than previous titles because of how bad the performance was for Scarlet and Violet, but they're still under a pretty strict deadline. I don't think Pokemon will ever go that direction graphically, but it is nice to see Game Freak step up and show something to that degree to kind of shut the haters up that, we can make a really graphically beautiful game in the, I guess, the gaming industry standards, because obviously there are cartoony games like Pokemon that look incredible. And I know some of the issues Scarlet and Violet go beyond performance, the graphics, where it's like there are certain just textures and stuff that would be nicer to see upgraded. But it's nice to see Game Freak showing that they can make a realistic looking game that looks great and possibly shut the haters up and maybe make the haters realize that it's not just Game Freak, that it's just the deadlines that they are put under by Nintendo, the Pokemon company as a whole, whatever, right? And what was the other one? Like Monsters, whatever the other company is called. Hopefully that's going to have a little bit of a realization for Pokemon haters and Game Freak haters, is that they can make a great game. It's just Pokemon has always been under, we got to get shit out right now because the training card's going to launch, this certain set's going to launch, the show is about to do this, we got this movie coming out, we have this happening, and it's just always been a deadline issue, right? Especially as the games have gotten bigger and bigger with going to the Switch, right? We've seen that with Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet, and hopefully now that ZA has had a little bit more time to cook, we'll see that as well. But either way, Beast of Reincarnation looks pretty cool. Coming out next year on my radar. excited for. Then we got some other announcements like High on Life 2, which High on Life was actually a fine enough game. It was actually pretty fun for what it was. So getting a second one's pretty cool. Persona 4 remake, Persona 4 revival. Finally got the official reveal on that one. The worst kept secret that's going on in gaming right now. So got the very quick reveal on that one. No release date as well as a follow-up statement from the lead director of the Persona series saying that Persona 4 is very special to him and he's excited for this game to come out and for new fans to be able to play this game, as well as continuing to plan for the future of the Persona franchise. So kind of just hinting at Persona 6 there. So that's cool. Of course, you got to have your new Call of Duty, which did end it off, Call of Duty Black Ops 7, which that's kind of whatever to me. I mean, it's Call of Duty at the end of the day. I mean, it's going to be a game that's going to garner a lot of attention, garner a lot of player counts. But at the end of the day, it is just Call of Duty. The one trailer that did go on what felt like a little too long was Clockwork Revolution. We got like an initial trailer for that, I believe, last year at the Xbox showcase. And this trailer did feel like it went on a little long, but at the same time, it looked sick, right? Like, they really dove into the game and a lot of different mechanics and a lot of different just gameplay elements and story elements, and really tried to deliver home what you're going to be getting out of this game. And honestly, this game looks really cool. This game already had my attention personally when it was originally revealed, and this extended trailer just further made me like excited for it and just kind of sold on it. So this is one that I'm definitely going to be checking out. But again, it did feel like it went a little too long. I mean, I saw in the comments a lot of people saying, "Oh my gosh, this thing's going on forever and forever." What was your thoughts on it? I mean, did that whole extended trailer kind of get you excited for the game? Did you also agree it went on a little too long? But either way, Clockwork Revolution, that's one to keep your eye on. That's one that I think is going to actually be pretty sick whenever it comes out, for sure. The announcement of Grounded 2, that kind of came out of nowhere, and like the game preview for it, whatever, is coming out next month in July. And after the Outer Worlds Direct, they had a Grounded 2 segment as well go on, just kind of detailing that one. So that's going to garner a pretty huge player count as well. So shout out to Grounded 2 as well. I cannot play Grounded. Absolutely cannot. Does not matter if they have an arachnophobia mode. I know what it is, so no thanks. Grounded is not for me, friend, but for the people that enjoy it, have a great time with Grounded 2. Aniimo was another one that caught my eye, this being like a monster catching game, kind of rivaling in the world of Power World and Pokemon, Nexamon, etc., etc. So Aniimo actually looked pretty sick. Coming out next year, that is probably one of my standout trailers, something that I'm going to keep my eye on for future reveals and future announcements on. But what was your thoughts on that? I mean, I'm very welcoming to get more monster catching type games into the world. The world does not need to be dominated by Pokemon. I love Pokemon as much as the next guy. I grew up with Pokemon. I still play Pokemon to this day. I absolutely love it and cherish it. But the monster catching genre does not need to get dominated by Pokemon, right? Like, obviously, there's all this stuff going on with the lawsuit of Pokemon and Pocket Pair and, Power World and patents and this and that. And, patents are super, super like, very like not super niche where it's like, okay, well, that's kind of vague there, buddy. So there's a lot of conversation around how just Pokemon dominates the front and doesn't like competition. I think competition is good in that genre. I welcome it. I want to see more. I want to see more stuff like Power World. So Aniimo was one thing that definitely caught my eye. I thought it looked pretty cool, pretty unique. I don't know if this. I think this was a world premiere. I think that's what it was. I could be wrong on that, but either way, it looked pretty cool. At Fate's End is one that really caught my eye from a visual standpoint. This by the developers of, I believe it was Spiritfarer, I believe is what it was. And just the visual elements to it, just the kind of gameplay fluidity, the combat, everything about it really stood out to me. This is also a 2026 game. This is one that I'm going to be looking forward to playing. It honestly looked really cool. I was really impressed by it. We also very quickly got the news of Gears of War E-Day and a new Forza coming out next year. It was just basically in Phil Spencer's quick little segment. No trailers are shown, no splash cards or anything. Just like, hey, next year's Xbox's 25th anniversary. We're going to have, new Fable, which we already knew from the delay. We're going to have Gears of War E-Day, which I don't think got a release window whenever it was revealed. I could be wrong. So actually have a release window now, as well as a new Forza, which I don't believe has been announced, as well as a new game from a property that's been with them since the beginning, which we can only assume is probably Halo, since Halo was a launch title. So that'd be my assumption for the Xbox 25th. So kind of just that quick little moment from Phil Spencer kind of gave a lot on what is coming next year for Xbox's 25th. So that's just something to note. For me personally, those were kind of the biggest ones that like got me excited. But let's kind of go ahead and just run through the rest of the list on some other stuff that was announced. So just going through the list, not talking about the things I've already mentioned. The first one would be Resonance, a Plague Tale Legacy, a continuation of the Plague series. This one seeming to go away from the rats though, which that's interesting. I have not finished either of the Plague Tales. I got like I think like no shit 90% done with the first game and just didn't beat it. And it's still one I would like to go back and beat as well as play the second. But it's kind of interesting that we're going away from the rats and going more into like a curse of some sort. So that's kind of interesting. But either way, for Plague fans, I guess that's cool. You're getting a new game or a spin-off game in some capacity. Blood of the Dawnwalker. This is a game that we had revealed not long ago with a big cinematic trailer. Got a further new trailer on this one, as well as the announcement there is going to be a gameplay reveal event on 6/21. It's going to feature like 15 minutes of gameplays and features. So for Blood of the Dawnwalker, that's something to look forward to. Super Meat Boy 3D, Ninja Gaiden 4, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, The Order of Giants, new expansion here. Shout out to that. Let's see from there. Chronos: The New Dawn. I believe that was revealed at the Game Awards, so we got a more of an expansive reveal on that one with a fall 2025 release. Of course, got to have your ESO segment. So ESO Seasons of the Worm Cult, which is coming out here soon. Next one is Aphelion, which this is by Don't Nod. This is also coming out in 2026. And this is also like I think it was said it was like partnered with like the Europe Space Agency or something like that. It was at the end of the trailer. Okay, this one actually was kind of cool too. This one kind of stood out to me. This is one that I might keep a lookout for, as well as There Are No Ghosts at the Grand. This one where you're kind of like rebuilding a hotel and rebuilding a village and kind of uncovering some mysteries and stuff. That one looked kind of cool as well. That one also coming to Game Pass next year. Going to be taking a look at that one. Age of Mythology, Heavenly Spear coming out this fall. Mudang 2 Hearts coming out next year. Planet of Lana 2, Children of the Leaf. Fallout 76, Gone Fishing. Soul Leveling, Arise, Overdrive. I believe it said fall 2025 for like PC. And then 2026 for console, I believe is what it said. I could be wrong though. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4. You got your Gears of War Reloaded segment. Then Sea of Thieves, of course, getting their new season in August. Invincible Versus. This, shout out to world fucking premiere. Shout out to that. 3v3 Tag Fighter. It is going to be coming out next year. I will say I did see at least half the people get kind of turned off the moment they saw it was a fighter. I think someone saw Invincible and was hoping for some sort of narrative, story-driven game of some capacity. But at the same time, I think a 3v3 tag fight I think will be fine. Shout out to Invincible Versus. Hey, Final Fantasy VII Remake. We already knew this was coming to Xbox, coming out this winter. But then Final Fantasy 16 actually got shadow dropped. It's out right now for Xbox. So big shout out to that one. And then a new game called Keeper, which is by Double Fine, who does like Psychonauts and stuff, and then with a release date of October 17th, 2025, which I gotta say, based on like the state of play and this Xbox showcase and like Summer Game Fest, September and October got packed out. Oh my lord, those 2 months are just packed with games right now. A lot of games there. And then that was kind of the last one that I hadn't already mentioned earlier on. So, I mean, top to bottom, pacing was well, had a lot of cool announcements. But my whole thing on this showcase is I don't feel like there was anything that really drove you home. Like, yes, we ended with COD Black Ops 7. COD is a big title, it's a worldwide title, it's one of the most played games in the world, yes. I mean, I get it. I get it. It's COD. Okay. I've had my fair share of COD in my life. Like, I get it. But like, I look at this showcase and honestly, I look at the entire like E3 week. I still like to call it E3 week. It's just in respect to what paved the way. I feel like there was a lackluster of heavy hitters throughout this week, right? You had Resident Evil 9. Honestly, I would definitely say Marvel Token Fighting Souls, it falls into that category because of the developer that is behind it. Black Ops 7, I'm sorry, by technicality would fall into that category. But beyond that, like what massive heavy hitters have we had over these showcases that we've had over the last few days, right? A lot of quality titles, yes. The Code Vein 2, the Mortal Shell 2, for the fandom, Atomic Heart 2, you have the Cube. You had some really cool titles in here. Persona 4 Revivals, that's a cool one there that has obviously a big following on that one, as well as some other cool titles that kind of stick out. But I feel like this entire E3 week of 2025 doesn't really have the big home runs that we have had in the past. Like, yeah, you know, I named those few that we had, but kind of feels a little lackluster for these past few days. I don't know if it's just my personal taste or not, because there's nothing out of these past few days that just got me unbelievably excited, right? Last year for me, it was Expedition 33 got revealed in the middle of the Xbox showcase. That was the one where, like, we have it on video with Gamesthetic, where I said after Black Myth Wukong, this is my most next anticipated game. This is the game that I'm going to fixate on for the next year. I didn't have that this year. Now that's just me, but I'm also trying to take my personal opinion out of it, and I don't know. I don't feel like out of everything revealed, I don't feel like out of everything revealed, there was a bunch of those massive, heavy hitting game industry titles, right? That shake the entire gaming industry. That's just my opinion. You know, please, if I'm wrong, call me an idiot in the comments. Please do, because I could be very well wrong on that. But that's just my personal opinion. You know, this was probably my favorite showcase because it had some really cool titles that stood out to me, while the State of Play and the Summer Game Fest was just, it was tough for me to take something away from it, but I could take my own personal opinion out of it and be like, okay, yeah, Summer Game Fest had a lot of sick titles for people, right? Like, a lot of people are excited for Arc Raiders. I'm not. A lot of people are going to be excited for Mortal Shell 2 or Code Vein 2 or Atomic Heart or The Cube. I'm not. You know, there was not a lot there for me. The State of Play, Marvel Token Fighting Souls. I'm going to enjoy that from afar, but I'm not like jumping out of my seat super pumped for this because I'm not huge into fighting games. That's just my opinion. That's the beauty of opinions. Everyone has it. This had stuff for me where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to play that. 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 Like, for me, Persona 4 Revival is probably, unfortunately, what I walked away with the most excited. And when I say unfortunate, I mean no disrespect to Persona 4. Persona 4 is incredible. But the fact that the thing that I walk away from the most excited for was a remake, that's kind of disappointing for me as the grand scheme of what all came to the showcase. But then again, that might just be my personal taste. I don't know. Like I said, Aniimo, that one looked cool. At Fate's End, that looked cool. Keeper looked interesting. Let's see. There are no ghosts at the Grand and Aphelion. Those looked cool. Clockwork Revolution also did look pretty cool, even though it was extended. But I don't know, just kind of feels like this whole E3 period, you know, game news period, whatever you want to call it this day, the Summer Game Fest period, whatever you want to call it, feels a little lackluster this year. Am I on an island on this? Like, you comment down below and you tell me if I am. Call me an idiot, and let's just have a conversation, because I want to know if me and the guys are all on our own little island on this, if we're in the heavy minority, or if this is kind of the overwhelming consensus that, yeah, we had a lot of cool stuff, but there was not really a whole lot that's making us jump out of our seat, with the exception of maybe a Resident Evil 9, Marvel Token, maybe a Black Ops 7 for the FPS fans. Like, I don't know. That's just my personal take. Would love to know yours. But anyway, do all the things the content creators say to do. If you're new here to the channel, subscribe to the channel, description, links, stuff, Discord, Patreon, like, whatever. Hopefully you have a great day. Again, comment your thoughts down below on the Xbox Game Showcase. Really just this whole Summer Game Fest week, E3 week, whatever. Just all that down below. Just comment. I'd love to chat with you. And hopefully you come by Gamesthetic. We go live pretty much every single Saturday around 6 p.m. Central Standard Time to talk about everything in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Bye.